Chapter 15. The Cost of Awareness. The courtroom was quiet, not the kind of quiet that feels peaceful, the kind that feels heavy. A 72-year-old man sat alone on the wooden bench waiting for his divorce hearing. 46 years of marriage had finally arrived. In this room, there were no loud arguments anymore, no accusations, no lawyers pacing back and forth, just two elderly people sitting on opposite sides of the room, looking like strangers who happened to grow old at the same time. The young clerk walked by carrying a stack of papers. To her, this was another case, another file, another marriage ending. To the old man, it felt like someone was closing a book he had never really learned how to read. As he waited, memories began arriving without permission. Not the wedding, not the honeymoon, not the birth of their children. Instead, he remembered something almost too small to matter. 30 years earlier, his wife had stood in the kitchen one evening while washing dishes. Without turning around, she had quietly said, "I don't think you hear me anymore." He remembered answering almost immediately, "That's ridiculous." And then he walked into the living room and turned on the television. At the time, he believed the conversation had ended. He had no idea it had just begun. For the next 30 years, she stopped saying those words, not because she felt hurt, because she no longer believed anyone was listening. Life is rarely destroyed by one terrible decision. It is quietly reshaped by ordinary moments we barely notice. A sentence dismissed, a phone call postponed, a hug never given, an apology swallowed by pride. We imagine life changes during dramatic events. Most often, life changes on evenings while someone is standing at that kitchen sink. The tragedy is that awareness almost never arises in those moments. It arises years later, and then when there is nothing left to repair. Why is awareness so difficult? Because it asks us to become a witness against ourselves. Most of us spend our lives acting as our defense attorney. We explain, we justify, we argue, we collect evidence proving why we were right. If someone criticizes us, we immediately prepare our closing argument. "I only reacted because ... They started it ... I had no choice ... I was under pressure ... Notice how quickly the mind begins protecting its image. The ego does not ask, "Is it true?" It asks, "How can I avoid feeling wrong?" That is why awareness feels expensive. The price is never money. The price is certainty. I had a friend that I met. She's a woman who worked as a nurse in hospice. She has spent more than 25 years caring for people during the final weeks of their lives. I asked her a question that had always lived quietly inside me. "What do people talk about near the end?" She became silent. Then she smiled gently. They almost never talk about money. She told me that no one had ever asked for another promotion. No one wished they had answered more emails. No one regretted buying a smaller television. Instead, they say things like, I wish I had forgiven my brother. I wish I had spent more time with my daughter. I wish I hadn't worked every weekend. I wish I had been less afraid. The remarkable thing wasn't what they regretted. It was when they finally saw it, only after time could no longer be negotiated. Awareness had arrived, and it had arrived late. Perhaps that is why so many people choose distraction, not because they enjoy being busy, because busyness postpones honesty. Turn on the television, scroll another hour, take another business trip, start another project, argue about politics, judge someone else. As long as attention is pointed outward, nothing inside needs to be examined. A scattered mind can hide almost anything until the room becomes quiet. Then everything we have postponed pulls up a chair. Awareness has another cost. It dismantles the identity we spend decades building. Imagine spending 40 years believing you are the victim in every story. Then one ordinary afternoon you suddenly realize you also wounded people. Not intentionally, but undeniably. That realization hurts. Not because you are a bad person, because the person you imagine yourself to be no longer matches reality. Few experiences are more uncomfortable, yet none are more liberating. Because the moment we stop defending an illusion, we no longer have to carry it. There is an old saying that fish are the last creatures to discover water. Water surrounds them every second of their lives. It becomes invisible. Human beings live inside habits the same way. We inherit ways of speaking, ways of loving, ways of arguing, ways of fearing. After repeating them for decades, they no longer feel like habits. They feel like personality. I always been this way. Have you noticed how often people say that? As though repetition has become proof. But awareness whispers a dangerous question. What if that isn't who you are? What if it is only what you have practiced the longest? Awareness does not ask us to become someone new. It asks us to stop pretending to be someone we are not. That sounds simple, but it isn't, because pretending often receives applause. People applaud confidence even when it hides insecurity. They applaud success while loneliness quietly sits behind it. They applaud strength without seeing exhaustion. The world often rewards appearances. Awareness is interested only in what remains after the applause ends. There comes a moment in every life when excuses lose their power. Age has a way of doing that. One day we realize the common denominator in every relationship, every disappointment, every repeated pattern has been the same person, ourselves. Not because everything was our fault, It wasn't. Life can be unfair, people can betray us, circumstances can wound us deeply. Awareness never asks us to deny those truths. It simply asks another question. What did those experiences become inside you? Did pain become wisdom or bitterness? Did loss become compassion or fear? What joys quietly rise the next chapter of every life? The hardest sentence in English language may not be I was wrong. It may be this one. I can see myself clearly now. Because once we truly see ourselves, pretending becomes impossible. Blaming becomes exhausting. Denial becomes unnecessary. And something unexpected begins to happen. Humility no longer feels like humiliation. It feels like relief. The burden of proving ourselves disappears. For the first time, we no longer have to protect the person we pretended to be. We are finally free to become a person we have always been waiting to meet. That is true cost of awareness. It asks for everything false so it can return everything real. Before you blame someone today, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what truth about myself have I been too busy to notice? Sit quietly with that answer. It might change more than the next 10 years of your life. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy this video. Please click like to my channel and subscribe to help me to do more videos.